it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio, and today I have my March Pick a Stick Challenge video for you. I decided to do a spring page, as you can see, and so the first thing I did, I knew that one of the steps was to transfer an image, and I wanted to try a method that I had seen Shannon Green do on her video, and I'll put a video down below if I can find it. She recommended this Omni gel, which is a Speedball product. That's the people who make my brayers. I didn't know they made gel. So what I did was I printed out a few bunny images. I tell you what, I'm still seeing the bunnies. The bunnies are everywhere. They're taking over my world. I don't know what's going on. So I printed out some bunnies I thought I liked from the computer, and then I put 3 coats of that Omni gel on them and let them dry overnight. And then now I'm soaking them in water and then removing the paper pulp from the back using my fingers. And it worked pretty well. It did stretch out of shape a little bit as I was pressing, and that's probably just a noob mistake. I don't know, but I just kept rubbing it until I thought that it was mostly off. I don't think I got every single bit off, but it was good enough for my project. And I did all of them, but I'm not going to show you all the rest of me removing all the pulp. This is the one that I ended up using, so I will show you them. The one that had a kind of a cream colored background on the print actually remained that color. I was curious about that, if it would just be black lines or if it would remain, you know, that creamy color. So I answered that question. So be sure to check out the rest of the videos from all my friends, which I'll link below. And if you would like to join this monthly challenge, be sure to click on the link for the Facebook. It's a Facebook group, and then we present the challenge at the first of the month, and we show our 4 videos at the last of the month. So there's the bunnies that I did, and you can see that one is kind of still creamy colored. So when I use that, I'll have to use it on a cream colored background or something. So now I have my page. This is a mixed media weight paper that I cut out of that stupid book that I'm going to be rebinding at some point. Maybe I'll get that done by next time. The first step was to use something old, and I have this old Spanish dictionary page. I can tell it's old because it's discolored on the edges, and that's what happens to paper as it breaks down. So I'm just going to collage that onto my page to give me a start, and I used perfect paper adhesive, whatever, you know that stuff, PPA, perfect paper adhesive, yeah, that stuff. And my key card from the hotel that I just got back from, and I stuck that down, and then I'm taking some gesso and some different colors of acrylic paint, and I'm just kind of sealing the background. I didn't gesso the page in advance, and so I wanted to seal it, but I also wanted some spring colors, and I also wanted to blend that piece of paper into the background so that it didn't look like it was just glued on there. So I'm just doing it with my fingers. I'm finger painting different colors, and then if I think there's too much, I wipe it off with a baby wipe, as you see me doing there, and add more until I'm happy with the background, because nowhere in the steps does it say make a background. So that's something that I added. And of course I dried it a few times in between and then added a little bit more color. I wanted some of that yellow. My inspiration for the page, besides the silly bunnies that live in my backyard, was daffodils. When I was on my trip, I saw a lot of daffodils, and I remember those when I was growing up, and I always really loved them. So I printed out a picture of daffodils, and I was planning on using it somehow. And that's kind of why I was putting the yellow. And then I've got kind of some blues and teals and a little bit of green. I did end up using them, but not in the way that I thought I was going to. So you'll see that later. So once I'm happy with this, I go to the next step, which is to use a random stamp set. And I pick one of my Stampin' Up! Sets that's got kind of some doodly type flowers and leaves and things. Again, spring, spring, spring. You're probably tired of seeing spring from me. But I'm not tired of it. It just barely started. And it's my favorite. So I got out some archival ink. This is olive. Doesn't really look very olive to me. Sorry, people. I think you misnamed it. But it's a green, and I made some green stems and leaves with my stamps. Just kind of coming in from the one side. I thought there would be flowers growing in from the one side of the page. And then I used the little flower line stamp and the, I think it's called Lilac. It's the purple archival ink to stamp those. And that was my using the random stamp set. The next step was to transfer an image, and I already had my transfer made. So then I just needed to glue that down to the page. So I made sure everything was real dry, and then I used that perfect paper adhesive again, spread it on thinly onto my page using that credit card. It's actually not a credit card, it's a key card from the Comfort Inn. And then I just kind of carefully, gently pushed it down with my fingers and tried to smooth all the little wrinkles out. It was kind of bumpy because I had stretched it out or something, and so I got that laid down, and I was actually really happy with it. I've never done this before. The only type of image transfer I've ever done is with packing tape. So this worked out great, and thank you, Shannon Green, for giving me the tips on the types of product. I think you could use any gloss gel type, you know, a gel medium type of situation. But I just wanted to do what I saw in the video, so I did it. The next step is to cover up something with gesso, and I still have my white gesso there on the side, so I just start kind of fine-tuning the edges, covering up a few of the vines on the edges, trying to blend in the edges of the transfer and just lighten up that one side a little bit with white gesso. Just with my finger again. Then it came time to use paper scraps, so I went and got my color box paper scrap boxes, and the first thing I did was cut out this, it's like a heavy scrapbook paper of some sort, piece of yellow, and I decided to make sunshine because here in Arizona the sun is always shining. That's right. Except for when it's not, but it always is. So you just have to love the sun if you live in Arizona. Then with some of my green, I think that's a jelly print scrap left over from something, I cut out some little leaves, and I was just kind of adding some dimension down there at the bottom. My little leafy leaves. I seem to cut out leaves a lot. In fact, the other scrap there already had leaves cut out of it. I guess I like that. Who knew? I like to cut out leaves. So I needed a couple more for the other side of the bunny. He's kind of hiding in the flowers. You know how they do. They get behind something and then they poke up their little head and their little ears, and then they pop back down again. And that's what he's doing, so he needs to be covered up a little bit more with some more leaves. And once that was done, I got out some punches and some lavendery purple scraps out of my box and punched a few flowers. Can't go wrong with flowers. I like using painted paper and jelly prints because you get a variation of color on your piece rather than just a straight piece of lavender cardstock, which I do have, but I think it looks better with the multi-tonal colors that you get with, I think one of those is a roll-off page and the other one's a jelly print. Then I got out a piece of pink scrap and punched out 3 little butterflies. There was actually a butterfly and a hummingbird in my front yard yesterday, and they were just flying around like kind of almost chasing each other. I didn't think that butterflies and hummingbirds ever interacted, but they seemed to be kind of playing, and I don't know. I watched them for a while. It was a black and yellow butterfly and a little teeny tiny hummingbird. So I've got my scrap work all done, and next is to use my favorite color. Well, I was already using my favorite color because I made purple flowers. I'm like, okay, been there, done that, but it's a step, so I have to do it. So I got out my purple Posca pen, and I'm just adding some details to my butterflies and flowers with that. I figured that completed the step, was just to add a little bit more of my favorite color. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, the next one gave me a little bit of pause. It's to use painter ink and then close the book, except for I had taken my page out of the book, so I couldn't really close the book. So I'm like, huh. So I just decided to get the page before this out, which I'd already trimmed out anyway, and use it to mush, mush. That's basically the technical term for it. We're going to mush. So I got out some green and blue. It's actually watercolor paint. It's comes with the droppers though, and I wanted to do some drips, and so I thought that was a good idea. And then I just turned to the back of that page, which would be the other side of the book, and just smushed it down. It was blank anyway, so it didn't really matter. I think I'm going to leave each page blank on the back on these because it just seems like the right thing to do. Now the next thing was to add a picture, and this is my little picture that I printed out that kind of inspired the page. And I thought, okay, I'll just glue one little section of it down in the corner. So I cut a piece of it out. It didn't look right. It was taking up too much space. So I went to my computer and I decided what I wanted was a bird. So I printed out a couple pictures of birds. And this one is actually a drawing or a painting. It didn't have a source, so I don't know who made it, but I liked it because it matched the colors. And I did print out another more realistic one, but I decided to use this one because I liked how it matched on the page. And then it didn't look right with having 3 butterflies and a bird, so I tore off one of the butterflies and I put the bird over where that butterfly had been on the page. That seemed to work fine. So now there's a bird. Next step, Zentangle or add patterns. So I decided to Zentangle, well, I'm not very good at it, but I decided to try to Zentangle my sunshine. So I've got that going with the white pen, and I'm just adding patterns on it, circles and then lines and swoops and dots, and I think it turned out okay. Zentangling I think is a lot more precise than what I do with my doodling. I'm pretty messy with it, but you know, what can you do? It is what it is. So I got that done, and oh, I guess I wanted to add some circles inside the petals. Kind of looks like a mandala a little bit. That's kind of what I was looking for. And I looked for some other places on the page to doodle, and I just decided that was enough. And then I just used my pen to add a few white splatters too. And step 10, print out your own photos and cut them up. Well, I had that photo that I had printed out already with an intention to use. And at first I thought maybe I'll make a border with the green parts of it. I didn't like that, so I decided to just cut out the flowers altogether and fussy cut them and then use them in my little flower garden that's hiding my bunny. So I think that qualifies. It says cut them up, and that's exactly what I did. I cut it up. I cut it out, I guess. Up, out, same thing, right? Sure, whatever you say. So I'm just gluing these down with perfect paper adhesive, and I think that will work fine. They seem to be bright and cheerful, and I'm just about done with my page. Still got some fussing to do though, you know, you got to do the fussing at the end. So I'm going to get out my Posca pens, and I got some different color ones and some black and white fine tips, and I felt like the bunny needed to stand out a little bit more, so I'm just outlining it kind of sketchily with my fine tip black Posca, just so you can see his edges a little bit better. I'm not going to go in and do all the teeny tiny lines. No way, no how. I did feel that he needed a tail, however. The bunnies that I see all the time have little fluffy tails. So I drew the tail on. I'm not sure if there was one originally. If there was, it got hidden by some green stuff there. So I tried to color it in with the white Posca, but the white Posca was picking up that green watercolor drip paint there, which was getting all over the tip of my Posca. And so I just took a little bit of that gesso and tapped it on there, and then I'm going to let that dry and try to seal it up a little bit before I color it in some more. And I'm going around my flowers with different colors. I've got an orange Posca pen there, and then I was adding a little bit of white in the centers and white around the petals of the ones that had white petals, just to make them stand out a little bit. And I think I'm touching the centers with white, and then I'm doing the other ones with yellow, kind of ignoring the one that's showing through the bunny, because you know the bunny was a transfer, so he's translucent and there's stuff showing through, which is kind of weird, but I couldn't think of a good way to get rid of it, so I just stopped worrying about it. And then I'm just adding a few other highlights here and there. On the bird, I'll do the butterflies, stuff like that with my Posca pins, just to make them stand out from the background a little bit better. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, make a comment, or subscribe. That would be great. Or share it with your friends. And I think I already said that you should join the group and do our challenges every month, because that would be fun. And also to check out Sherry, Peg, and Lizzie Beth's videos, which I will link below so that you have an easy link. And I just wrote some Hello Spring on there, and then a little bit more splashes with my pens. It makes good splatters. And I think that is pretty much it for this Pick a Stick Challenge March page. Thanks. Bye-bye.